Good evening, everyone. Time for another silver update. This is the 2-hour chart of silver provided by netdania.com. You can click on the link below. Fairly boring price action today, but a very interesting news day in regards to silver. We're going to get to some of the stories in a moment. You can see we have the primary downtrend line here. This is drawn from the beginning of April. If we go back to further back, the line is even steeper, but just going by this line, we're going to have to get some resolution fairly soon. You can see here I've drawn a line here at the beginning of May and then one at the end of the month, just to give you a 1-month snapshot of the price move according to this trend line. You can see we cross over at about $30 and we'll say $30.15 there, and we're about $28.60 there, so we'll just say $1.50. So silver is dropping. This line is a pace of losing $1.50 a month. So you can see if that's extended out into the future, $1.50 a month for 10 months would be $15, for 20 months would be $30. So in 20 more months at this pace, we'll be at a price of 0. So it's pretty clear that that trend can't continue. Wanted to go over to the question of the night, and that is from Harble the Cat, and he says, "Penny, for your thoughts, copper and nickel." Hi, John. My wife and I were recently watching an old TV show set in the U.S. during the Great Depression. In one scene, 5 children walk into a general store and offer the clerk 2 cents for approximately as much licorice as about what $1 buys today, implicitly indicating a penny back then had about as much purchasing power as 50 cents does today. The U.S. penny from 1909 until 1982 was more or less unchanged in terms of its metal composition, a 2.5 gram, 95% copper coin. On a similar vein, the American nickel from 1909 until 2013 was a copro nickel coin, 5 grams, 75% copper, 25% nickel. Copper, and to a less extent nickel, have a fairly established history as monetary metals. Copper specifically has a long history as money as silver does, dating to the start of human civilization, has almost all the same physical properties as silver. Copper and nickel can be very easily obtained simply by purchasing and storing nickels and pennies. I can envision a scenario whereby pennies and nickels dating back to the Depression era could very well enjoy the same purchasing power in the future that they did when they were first minted. My question then is, if there's a parabolic move in silver, does it stand to reason that copper and to a lesser extent nickel could have a similar such move? Thanks. What are your thoughts? Well, first of all, in regards to the copper penny, now I've collected ever since I was a kid just a ton of wheat pennies. And the wheat penny, the last issued wheat penny was 1958. And then we got the memorial penny in 1959. So, and that we still have that penny. The key importance to that is that wheat pennies are guaranteed to be 95% copper, whereas the memorial penny, you don't know for sure if it is or not, because in 1982 it changed to a zinc-based coin. So you can't just go to the bank and get rolls of pennies. You're going to get mostly zinc. Now, if you do just call out the wheat cents, then obviously those are going to be 95% copper. Now, there is actually a penny sorter machine that goes by the specific, not gravity, but I'm sorry, but the density and weight of the coins. And you can find that on YouTube, and it'll sort it out. I've done the math on it. It's still not worth it. You can go to coinflation.com and check out the prices. Now, the nickel, on the other hand, is a fantastic deal, and the reason why is because it's still this same 75%, 25%. I don't think this is going to last much longer. I think that the government is going to do away with that. The nickel's already worth more than a nickel, and I've stockpiled a ton of them. I'll just go every once in a while and buy rolls, a whole bunch of rolls, and just toss them somewhere. And so I think the best deal out there right now is going to be the nickel. You really can't lose because it has a face value that it's not going to go lower than that, and the intrinsic value of the metals is more than that face value. So the nickel's a can't lose situation. Now, do I think that these metals or these coins are going to explode in price when there's a silver explosion? No, I don't think so. I think that they will reflect any type of hyperinflation if we have that, or serious inflation if we have that. But you have to remember that these metals, the prices of these metals have not been suppressed. There is not a cartel of banks and governments out there who are shorting paper copper or paper nickel to try to keep the price low, because there's just not a threat from it. Whereas silver is the most suppressed commodity in the history of the world, and probably has the largest conspiracy going against it in the history of the world. And therefore, I think that when the silver rubber band snaps, I think that it's going to be an explosive move. Now, one of the big stories about today about silver that came out is the story, this is at Zero Hedge, of the nationalization of the mines in Bolivia. And they've had some kind of protest there and kidnapping or something. I don't know all the details of it. But pretty much this Morales, Evo Morales, has come out and he's threatened to nationalize the silver mines. Now, I've been predicting this for a long time. Here is the chart of this stock, SAC, South American Silver. Now, if we look at some of the others, we can go to, for example, Pan American Silver, and I did a story on that recently. And you can see when you pull up the 5-day of Pan American Silver, it was down about 5% today. We'll pull up a comparison of the SLV to give you a comparison of the silver price relative to it, and you can see the silver price is relatively flat, but the price of PAAS is down nearly 10% on this 5-day period. So again, the dangers of paper silver in the ground is going to be the danger of them taking the mines and nationalizing the mines. Now, Bolivia is actually, if we go over to the Silver Institute, you can see on our list of top 20 silver producers countries for 2011, you can see that Bolivia comes in 8th at 39 million ounces, but for all intents and purposes, it's a 4-way tie for 5th, with Bolivia, Chile, Poland, and Russia all producing about that 40 million. You got 55 million in Australia, you got 100 million in China, 100 million in Peru, 152 million in Mexico. Now, what happens if these two decide to nationalize their mines, and China decides they want to keep theirs like the rare earths do, and Australia says, well, you know, we're not so sure about letting go of ours. So you can see how quickly a crisis could occur with these countries having South America and Central America dominating, being number 1 and 2 and 5 and 8 and 10. You can see there's some serious vulnerability in the silver supply just there. Now, another big story today is PFG, and this just broke on Zero Hedge, and this is another MF Global. This is a futures company. I believe they have about $500 million in assets. You can see the filing that's on file with the National Futures Association. They've essentially frozen the funds there, and apparently there's not nearly as much money deposited on banks, so there's a shortage of capital. And so here's another MF Global that's breaking. Now, why is this happening? Again, this is paper silver. So we've got the mines, the value of your paper is evaporating in the mines, and now you can see the value of your paper is evaporating in these futures brokers. Now, I personally believe that the reason why we had the MF Global and the reason now we're having this PFG, I don't think it's related. It's a coincidence that it's just a corruption of these. And by the way, Tyler points out here that we got JP Morgan involved again. I really think it's a concerted effort by the anti-silver, anti-commodity, anti-gold crowd to take away the ability of people to invest in that. Now, I understand that it's paper and that that's not a threat to them, but you have to remember that it is a threat to them if people can take delivery. So if people can put down millions of dollars and then take delivery of physical silver and physical gold, that is a threat to the cartel. And this is another shot against the ability of people to go in and take physical delivery, because they just simply can't rely on the futures brokers, to be honest. I'm guessing you're probably going to see another commingling of funds issue, and my understanding is at the current time all the funds are frozen, so I don't believe that customers can withdraw their cash at this point. I think they're being forced into liquidating their positions. So that's another big news story about paper silver and paper assets. The last story I wanted to talk about is also on Zero Hedge, and this is just another one that I've been predicting. The Scranton mayor has said that there will be minimum wage for all, or Scranton will become Stockton. The infamous city of Scranton, Pennsylvania, has had financial troubles for a couple of decades, losing population since the end of World War II. But as NPR reported this weekend, the $16.8 million budget gap that Mayor Chris Doherty is trying to fill, and the disagreements between his taxation proposal and the city council's borrow more money view, has driven the mayor to an incredible action. Doherty has reduced everyone's pay, including his own, to the state's minimum wage of $7.25 per hour. In an ironic choice of words, the desperate mayor noted, quote, "I'm trying to do the best I can with the limited amount of funds that I have." Doherty says, "I want the employees to get paid. Our people work hard, our police and fire. I just don't have enough money, and I can't print it in the basement," end quote. NPR continues, after paying workers Friday, the city had only about $5,000 left in the bag. More money flowed into city accounts that day, but it was still not enough to pay the $1 million the city owes to its nearly 400 employees. This is, of course, stressful on union workers affected, as one notes, quote, "The kids aren't going to be able to do certain activities this summer. Maybe we're not going to be able to go on vacation to Italy, we wonder," adding via HuffPo, "With Scranton and Pennsylvania being in such a hotbed for the next election, we want to make sure that they know there's a Democratic mayor that's not taking care of his public safety unions," end quote. The unions plan to be back in court first thing Monday morning to ask the judge to hold Doherty in contempt it seems municipalities across the country are increasingly turning to austerity measures to tackle their budget gaps and to protect bondholders until they finally become Stockton, California. So, absolutely astounding. This is actually what I proposed, that you lower wages until they start leaving. I think this is taking it a little bit too far, which is putting it to $7.25 an hour minimum wage. But if you're out of money, that's what you have to do. So it's either going to be lay off workers or lower their wages. It looks like the mayor has decided to take this drastic action. So amazing news story day, and all of these things are things that I have predicted. I've been warning you that these things are coming. If you get your money from the government, be prepared to not have it. Be prepared to be reneged upon. It's not a question of a moral question, whether it's welfare, whether it's wages, whether it's unemployment benefits, whether it's Social Security disability, whether it's Social Security, whether it's federal pensions. It doesn't matter what it is. These paper obligations are going to be reneged upon, and you're not going to get paid. So it's very unfortunate. A lot of the government workers think they made the best deal. They think that they're on the gravy train, but unfortunately they're going to find out a very disappointing surprise. They're going to find out that the money is gone, and the obligations to them are going to be reneged upon, and I think there's going to be a lot of them that are going to be very angry. Now, the silver obligations are being reneged upon. We have two stories today. Paper silver, as far as miners collapsing because of the threats in Bolivia to nationalize the mines, and of course this newest futures brokerage that has swindled away the money apparently, and people who were playing the paper games, their money possibly could be gone. So the lesson is very clear. Stacking physical silver and physical gold is your only protection against what is coming. And we'll talk to you next time.